Hey YouTube, how are you? Taking a little time here to do something I've been promising for a long time now. Tattoos here, and the stories behind them. I belong to a group now. I've been promising this video for longer, but I think I'll put this up in the group about body art. I'm going to tell you about each one of them and everything, and let me start off, like, every one of these tattoos I have been done by the same artist except for one, and the outline of my first one. Thing is, you should get an artist you really trust. Mine all got done in South Carolina before I moved to Orlando. I had a good relationship with my artist and his girlfriend. I loved them to death, you know. Especially his girlfriend. She was so cool. She'd pick me up from the house sometimes when I was ready for a new tattoo. And we'd like chill. She had to do a couple of things, you know, before we got to the house. And she was a trip, you know, a real trip. Kerr could be a trip too. That was my artist's name, Kerr. Sometimes I still talk to them. I call them on the phone just to see how they're doing. What got me started on the tattooing was I used to have a fear of needles. I'm still a little uneasy about needles, but I'm certainly not now. Not so bad now, but it used to take 5 people to hold me down just for a finger prick when I was a kid. That's how bad I was about it, and how much I would fight. My brother was always getting a tattoo. My half-sister Lisa was always would get tattoos too. She got this cute little frog. She likes frogs. And, you know, I thought, oh, you know, I wouldn't mind trying to get one. And my parents and everybody would say, oh, you would never be able to handle the needles. Not with the way you are about them. I'm like, really? Well, that was when I was a kid. I gave blood just to get over my fear of needles. I went to the school blood drive when I was 18. And actually, I've been wanting to do that again. Again, it saves lives. But, you know, I decided I was going to prove the point. I could do it. And a friend one night, it was about maybe 2-3 years ago, when he was just taking me out to go chill because I hadn't been out for a while, he stopped by this one place. I'd already knew a guy from my workplace who was one of my regular customers. He told me if I came by, he'd give me a good deal. Lucky enough, I was there when I showed up. And so he gave me my first tattoo. He did not have the color I wanted. You know how I like purple? Well, he didn't have any shades of purple that I really liked, you know. I looked at all the different tattoos and stuff with their different colors. There was this one purple I really liked, and he just didn't have it. So for that time being, I got the outline done. Said I would come back for the color later. That would be, get closer here, my Leo tattoo. I only had the outline done. And it was over a year later when I met Kerr, because the artist I had gone to had gotten fired, and it turned out that he was not a very good person. I mean, he did an excellent job, yes, but I mean good as in, you know, he was a decent person. He was no decent person like I thought he was. But I met Kerr, and I gained a trust with him when I stopped at this other tattoo parlor, and he went ahead and did the coloring for me. And I even let him take a picture because he didn't have something like that in his photo book. Every artist has like a book of their stuff, you know, whether it's like cover-ups, touch-ups, or anything, you know. Then I got really addicted to it. I decided I wanted another one. And I went back later and talked about it, you know, what was the least painful place to have it done and everything. And he gave me a really good deal, and we talked about what could I get next, you know. And I was like, maybe a rose or something, you know. And he showed me a rose, and I was like, you know, and I think I don't want the original red. I love red, but I want to be a little different with it. And so he showed me a rose, and I ended up getting this done on my calf. That is a black rose. Well, black purplish rose, because I like purple. I kind of wish I had gotten a little lighter purple. But other than that, I love it. So that was my second tattoo. And then I really got pretty much into the tattoo thing. What I did was, I wanted to cover up a scar that I had. It started out with the outline. I have a scar here. I had taken a bad slip one day. I was on my way to my father's when I lived in walking distance of him to help him out with something. Excuse me. Coffee. And it was a very cold, rainy day. I was wearing a heavy coat and 3 shirts. And it had been raining. You have to, like, the way I went, it was a shortcut. I had to go, like, at the top of his street over this ditch. It's a small ditch, but you kind of have to wide step over it. And that's what I was doing. I was wide stepping over like I usually do on the ditch. My foot hit a big patch of mud, really soft mud, and my foot went out behind me, went slipping behind me. And I had no time to catch myself. And I came down on the asphalt of the street in front of me on my elbow. And it split the bone from the joint up. I heard the crack and started screaming, the cracking, and started screaming before the pain registered. Because I knew what had happened. And lordy, 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 that was the worst physical pain of my life. The doctors could not figure out how I managed it, but it turned out that if I had not been wearing all the layers of clothing I had, it probably would have gone straight through the skin. I was lucky it didn't, because the way it split, and I probably would have bled out before I got to the emergency room. A neighbor lady heard me screaming and came out and got me and helped me to my dad's house. And they took me from onto the emergency room from there. If it had gone through the skin, I probably would not have made it. I had to wait till the next day because their surgery rooms were all filled up to have surgery to fix it. Now if I go anywhere that has a metal detector, I have to let them know about this so they can take the little bar scanner and run it all over me. Because I got plates and pins holding the bones together. But I got this big scar, and I wanted to take away from the scar as much as possible. So I wish I'd gone with something else now, but I wanted a dragon, but I didn't want like the traditional green dragon, and he put a little too much green in there, but it's still pretty cool. I chose this. I wanted more purplish. Purple, of course, my favorite color. He did put some purple in, but he put a little too more green than I wanted in, but it's still cool. And it's a tribal dragon, and he did the outline for it. First, you know. And the same night we were talking as he was doing this, I had been seeing t-shirts with heartograms. I just thought they looked pretty, you know. I don't really understand the meaning behind them or anything. I just like the way they look. So while he's doing the outline, I got to talking about I wouldn't mind trying to get some sort of neat tattoo of a heartogram if I could find one that I really like. And he's like, well, I could probably draw one up for you. I'm like, well, okay. So after he finishes, he kind of draws his picture up, and I liked it. It was a heartogram surrounded by flames, and I thought it was so neat. So I was like, yeah, I think I'll go ahead. And I had the money to spare, so I went ahead. He wasn't charging me. This man charges good, and he does excellent work, and he adds his own little bit of slight changes to give it a little individuality. And he always does wonderful work. You gotta love her. I went ahead and had it done like on the back of my neck, and it's hard to reach around there, so I'll show you a picture.